Hello, welcome everybody. This is usually we're running this through our operator series. Here we're mixing it up with a last minute Black Friday, Cyber Monday website teardown. Very excited to light this back up. We've got John MacDonald over here, the founder and president of The Good, which is one of the leading conversion rate optimization firms across the world for especially for e-commerce merchants. So very happy to have you all here. Just like we did with the operator series, you all know the drill. Throw in the chat where you calling in from. As always, I am here in Southern California. And John, where you calling in from today?
Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. Awesome. Definitely a place I want to get to when things open back up a little bit. I've only been once.
Yeah, not this time of year though. Wait until the rain stops because we just got into the rainy season. It has not stopped for a week, 2 weeks. So.
I will do that. I got to go once. My wife's old company, they actually helped project manage the University of Oregon's new basketball arena.
Oh, wonderful!
And they were playing against. Yeah, it's amazing. Like if anybody wants to see a pretty cool basketball court, check out University of Oregon's. Oh. You'll either really like it or really hate it. I don't think anybody can fall in the middle.
And throwback is I actually built the website for that.
Really?
Yep. Matthew Knight Arena, way back. When was that? 2007.
Okay.
8? Yeah.
Wow. There we go. I like this. We're getting off on the right foot already. So perfect. See where people are calling in from. See Miami, Boulder, Myrtle Beach. Nice. We have people in Canada. We always have some people outside of the U.S. Some more Portland, Virginia, Lebanon, Chicago. We always have a lot of Chicago. We're the Austin people. There's Austin. We've got Berlin. Love Berlin. Turkey. All over. Croatia. That's where I want to go. Australia, Missouri, Vegas, New York. Awesome. We'll keep it coming in. We've got a jam-packed agenda today. We had a lot of you raise your hands to have us feature your website. John's going to do probably like 5-ish minutes on each site, do a teardown. We've got a few in the queue. If any of you have questions while John's going through it, please throw it out there. I can relay those to John. And if any of you want us to check out your websites as well, throw them in the chat. We want this to be very conversational, and let's get going. So to start, John, I know you've got a few in the queue. Hector's throwing out his, same with Tevik, but let's start with some of yours you have, John. You can share your screen and let's go from there.
All right. So these are all folks who submitted ahead of time. So if you were on the ball and submitted ahead of time, then we were fortunate enough to get you in this list. So we have a handful of them here, as you can see. I opened them all up in tabs, but typically what I like to do for these is just start at the top of the page and work my way down. And really the goal here is just going to be to, what does a new to file customer think and what do they see? And so I haven't interacted with any of these sites other than opening them up in a tab here. So there's really nothing here that, I've done to any of these sites. So first off, let's take a look at Focal. Looks like a CBD brand perhaps, but we'll dive in a little bit more here. And the first thing is this pop-up. Now, generally, I don't want to see pop-ups as soon as I come to the site. Folks, if you've listened to anything I've had to say in the past or familiar with my content or seen any of the other webinars I've done with ShipBob, you'll know that I kind of despise pop-ups, especially when it happens right off the bat as soon as the site loads. Now, here's the problem with that. Imagine that your site was a retail store and you walk into that retail store and a sales associate jumps out in front of you with a clipboard and says, "Give me your email address." Well, as a consumer, you just walked into that store. You really have very little understanding of what products is being sold, what product is right for you. And the other thing that's happening in these pop-ups is often, as is the case here, they're offering a discount just if you sign up, right? And the biggest challenge I have with that is the first thing you're yelling to somebody who's coming to your site is, our products are not what we normally charge for it. They're not worth that. And that's just really degrading your brand right off the bat. Now, how should you do pop-ups? Because I'm going to hear from people, I imagine. I should probably, let me open this questions in chat a little bit. But what I imagine we're going to hear from folks is, well, pop-ups work. They collect email addresses. It's true, they do. However, here's the biggest problem, is that the quality of the emails you're going to get at this stage are going to be very, very low. People are either going to put in their information and forget they did that and then start thinking you're spamming them. Or a lot of folks we see put in their information and they do it just to get the window out of their way. And or they do it just to get the 10% off. They don't really want your ongoing marketing messages and such, that they start marking you spam or not opening, all of which hurt your deliverability. So I really recommend that you don't do these pop-ups. Instead, bake these forms into the page content. Second thing on these, do not offer $1 or percentage off discount. Now, what I highly recommend here is there are tons of other offers that you could be doing. You could say gift with purchase, or free shipping, or something else that is an offer, not a discount. Now, they're very different. In fact, if you go to thegood.com, click on Insights, you'll see we recently did an article not too long ago about discounting for conversion rates and how you can avoid that. There's also articles up there about, like, there's one that's like 80 or 90 different ways that you can do an offer that's not $1 or percentage off discount. So definitely check those out. Okay, I've railed on, spent a bunch of time on this pop-up. I'm going to get through that. Now, here's the first thing. I see a value proposition, and it's the best tasting CBD gummy, period. I love that. It's a great value proposition. I think, the first thing that I would do here is change the call to action from shop choose to something that's a little less, not as high intent, something like learn more, view details. The other thing I would do is not have this auto rotating carousel. Now, it's not auto rotating at the minute right now, but there it is. Okay. So I would remove auto rotating carousels. Again, if this is very similar to if somebody walked into a retail store and the products just moved in front of them. And it's really frustrating. You can see how fast this is moving. As a consumer, it's really hurts conversions. In fact, Notre Dame University here in the US has done a big study on auto rotating carousels. And if they have auto rotating, less than 1/10% of people will click on anything other than the first message. And most will just
say that again. Less than 1/10%.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
Because I was going to ask you, because I see with these rotating carousels all the time, and just like what you're saying, I get so annoyed because I'm like, just take me back to the first thing. I was trying to read it.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is so common? And I even see it very common with brands that are doing very well.
Yeah. Look, first thing on that is that it's common because it usually comes from a directive from the marketing team or the brand team that want to communicate their message. So they're using their website to communicate a marketing or branding message as opposed to looking to serve the visitor of the website. I'm a full believer in that the highest revenue generating websites, and this is backed based on 11 plus years of data now that we've been looking and optimizing websites. I highly recommend that you really consider the consumers are at your website for two reasons. They want to research your product and understand if it can solve their pain or need, and they want to convert. And that's it. They're not there to learn more about your story. If they want to dive into that as part of their research process, they will. But stop forcing that in front of them. That's really when it becomes a bigger issue, is that brands like to do things like have 5 or 6 marketing messages, right, on their homepage. Well, luckily here it's 2, so that could be a lot worse. Now, if you want to have all these messages, bake them into the page. People will scroll. There is no such thing as the fold, right? It used to be where people just didn't scroll as much. We do scroll maps on almost every site we work with, and I can tell you that people are scrolling now more than ever, especially with mobile, right? They're just used to scrolling. So with that, I would take a look at the navigation next. I truly believe that you should list your products in your navigation. So many brands hide things behind shop. Again, because what are they doing here? Well, if I'm a consumer, I look at this and I say 2 of these items, maybe even 1, are relevant to what I want to do here. Right? So again, we're talking about brand messaging. What's the first thing? They're saying, why focal? Well, as a consumer, I'm really interested in the products right now. That branding message of why focal or about should really be baked into the page content in my path of research and conversion. And then the blog, look, a lot of brands make the mistake of putting a blog in their navigation. I highly recommend it does not go in your main navigation. The reason being that a blog is wonderful for helping a consumer get to your site, right? Content marketing, it will drive traffic. However, it is not helpful once a consumer is on your site doing that research process. The reason being is that you're going to send people up the funnel instead of down, right? So if somebody comes to your site, they're looking at products, and then they go to your blog, you've effectively sent them right back up the funnel, top of funnel, right? Instead of closer to actually converting or purchasing. So I highly recommend that you don't push people to your blog once they're on your site. Now, once people are on your site, are on your blog, you can then push them into your products, etc., because they've found you, they're interested in what you're talking about. So, all right. And then rewards is something I would bake in as you either on the account page or as you're in the purchase process. I do like the free shipping bar. This will do 2 things. If you set a limit like they have here of $50, it will help you increase your average order value. So always set that free shipping limit a little higher than what your average order value is. And then secondly, on top of that, we have done tons of tests on these promo bars. And I can tell you that the only ones that move the needle are free shipping. Anything else on these does not seem to move the needle. Now, why is that? We know that there is a bias towards free shipping with online consumers. And we all have Amazon to thank for that, right? However, consumers are so trained that to be concerned that they're going to add something to their cart and have a good understanding of the cost. They're going to start putting in all their information, and then the total is going to change to add in a shipping cost that they were not used to, right? And they weren't expecting that. So now, if you're saying right up front that you offer free shipping, it calms the consumer down. It helps them understand they're not going to have any surprises in checkout. And so that's something to think about if you are going to do it. With a promo bar, stick to free shipping. That typically has worked the best for us.
I like that, John, where it's just keep it simple. It's a free shipping. Just like in life and in business, we don't want surprises. And so don't surprise them. And like you said, based off of your COGS and probably average order value, you can pick a threshold above that, because free shipping sometimes, it costs, it incurs a cost to the brand.
Right.
But hopefully that can improve your conversion rates as well to definitely offset that.
Yeah, exactly. So other things, social proof here. I think this is great. I bet if you ran a click map on this page, you would see a lot of people trying to click on these logos to be able to go and see, what did Yahoo say? What did Healthline, Observer, Hustle, etc. Like, for instance, did you just advertise in the Hustle, right? And instead of actually being featured there with some quality information. So that's something that consumers often want to know. So I bet if you ran a click map on this page, you would see a lot of people clicking on that. And then what is plant-powered wellness? I'm assuming this is part of a branding message here, but what I would do, we call these walls of text. When you hit a big paragraph like this, look, as a consumer online, we're all lazy. We all have a lot going on. And when you're online, there's a ton of distractions, right? Break these things down into bullet points and just list the bullet points. Don't make me read this. If we did an eye tracking heat map on this, I can almost guarantee what's going to happen is consumers are going to be reading the first few words of each of these lines, and everything over here on the right-hand side is not going to be read at all, right? So what consumers are doing is they're scanning these first few words of each sentence, each line, to understand if there's anything in here that is going to help their research journey. right? So if you really want messages communicated, just stick to bullet points on this or individual sentences. Same thing for what I would say down here. But I do love that you have icons and you're very clearly saying, I bet on that same heat map, we would see a lot of people looking at this information through here. Again, you're calling out your different types of products that you have drops and chews. You know, what I would recommend is just putting CBD drops and CBD chews up here in the top in your navigation. And then if you need to go deeper, you could, you know, have a drop down, for instance. You know, you have supplements, it looks like, and nights. You could have all of those, you know, have different drop downs with different categories under each. But have your product categories, your main product categories in your main navigation. Because already now I'm starting to scroll down here. I'm actually a little overwhelmed. Like, wow, what do I need? Do I need the relief cream, immunity? I'm really trying to figure out what I need here. So helping the consumer.
And also, like you called out, is having in the drop down, because they're not going to overwhelm you with products, but they have the night, they have the relief, they have the immunity, which I think people are more familiar with as they look at other solutions like hymns and whatnot. And plus it can help with SEO too, put it up in the nav. That's interesting.
Yeah, I would really put it up there because at a glance, I can see all the different products. And I get, you know, what happens with consumers is they use your main navigation for wayfinding. They use it to understand, okay, what does Focal sell overall? Right? I get it, the CBD products, but now I can see the entire product line in that navigation and be off to a good start there. And then reviews. I love this. Real reviews from real customers. That's a great headline. You know, that you have 292 of these. That's great. You know, one thing I would recommend perhaps is have a call to action here that allows you to go to the product that's being reviewed, right? So something I would bake into that pretty quickly. And then understanding the difference between the two, that's great supporting material. You know, one thing I find here is cancel anytime. It's a little confusing. I had no idea there were subscriptions. It does say free shipping on subscriptions and orders, but I had missed that earlier. So being able to let people know perhaps more clearly that there's a subscription model. And then one thing I would highly recommend here is if we click on that, great. You're doing a great job here of having the picture and not sending people to Instagram. I see this mistake all the time where brands include their Instagram feed or consumer photos in here. I don't know about you, but as soon as I'm on Instagram, I'm down a black hole and I'm not coming back to buy from your site anytime soon. So that's great. One thing I would recommend here, though, make this page shoppable. So if you click on this, it should take you to the actual page for that product being featured, or have a call to action down here in the bottom of underneath the description. That's going to go a long way to converting. Okay, sign up form. So as I mentioned earlier, instead of the pop-up, baking that in here, well, now we have two problems. One is you were offering 10%, and now that 10% is just gone because I closed it. We'll get to that in a second. But first thing here is you're missing a couple of items. Every email sign-up form should have expectation setting. You do a good job of saying, find out when new products are available, but what else are you going to email them? And it's understood I give you my email address, you're going to market to me. How often are you going to email me? Find out when new Focal products are available. We'll email you no more than one time per month, one time per week, etc. And then right below, you just need a really small text that's a privacy statement. We will never sell your email address, right? Respect your privacy, something like that. So you need privacy, expectation setting and reassurance. Those two things need to be on every sign-up form for emails. Now, I talked about how before you were offering 10% off and now that's just gone. What's going to happen? A consumer is going to be triggered that, hey, I saw that pop-up and I wasn't ready to give you my info. So they close it, they go to check out, and there's that coupon field there. Well, what are they going to do? Oh, right, there was a 10% off discount. Now they're going off of your site to Honey, one of these other type of aggregator sites, and they're looking for what that best deal is because you've already primed them right up front to say, A, my product is not worth what I'm charging for it, right? Because I offer a discount right off the bat without any questions asked. And then second, what you're saying is there's a better price out there that someone else is getting. Now, every online consumer wants to be the one who gets the lowest price. This is why there's a whole theory about this, right? Whenever you buy a new car, what's the first thing that you talk about with your friends? Oh man, I got such a great deal on this car. You wouldn't believe it, right? Everybody loves a great deal. And so they want to tell everybody they got the best deal. They don't want to have the worst deal. So if they know that there's 10% off out there, they're going out looking for that code. And it really takes them off your site. Your conversions are just going to tank from there.
And I get that all the time. I'll land on the site. I'm ready to buy. I
Mhm.
wasn't looking for a discount. And they'll hit me with a pop-up and I'll hit, or maybe I'm looking around and I hit X because I want to search around and actually see the product. And then I'm like, wait, how do I get that discount again? And so you just refresh it. Then you have to go into incognito or something. And it defeats the whole purpose.
Well, not only that, but I ask you, how much is that attribution worth to you, right? Because if they go in incognito or keep refreshing, you're losing that, right?
Mhm.
So how much is it worth to you? Is it worth that 10% to know where that customer came from, right? I would argue in a lot of cases that data is more valuable than that 10% off.
So we can reward, let's see, I think it was Hector that threw in his website out first. He was the brave soul. I know you got a bunch here. Maybe we can jump over to his site real fast. And then we can
Sure. Let's see, Hector. Is that the shop music box, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I threw it in the chat also, if that helps.
Okay. All right. Music boxes make perfect gifts.
I also like how he's got your free shipping in the main nav also. So there we go.
There you go. Yep, that's great. And I like how he's making it very clear what they sell. Music boxes, right? So that's right up front. Obviously, it's in the domain name as well. But then you can see here he's got all the different categories as the main navigation. So wonderful. And you've kept it to 6, 7 items. Now, I would recommend generally 5 to 6 is where we want to stop. But understanding where you're at here, that definitely makes sense. So that's really good to see. I love that you have a video. You know, probably nothing shows this better than having a video of exactly what the products do. This is really cute. It's great. I might have to get my son one of these. I have a 4-year-old at home. But what's really interesting here is you're showing the products. And I think, again, consumers love video. They will watch video way more than they're going to read. And so that's really great to hear.
Quick question on the video. So he's using YouTube, which oftentimes when the clip is over, it will throw out a bunch of recommended videos that have nothing to do with your product. And just like the Instagram rabbit hole, now you're on YouTube for 3 hours and you forgot what happened. So what's your take on that?
I'm not, I think your videos should definitely be on YouTube for searchability. It's the #2 search engine, right? So you definitely want to take advantage of that. If you want any data and you want to keep consumers on your site, I highly recommend you look at a different video provider. There's tons of them out there. Wistia is great, Vimeo even. They're all fairly inexpensive these days. But a lot of those allow you to control the brand experience. And there's a handful of them out there that integrate with your CRM and let you know who watched what videos, etc. So you can even get some good data from that if you'd like. But yeah, you can see here, it's already showing additional videos that could be your competitors. I've seen some really good arbitrage from a few of our customers who go on YouTube and buy ads on other brand sites, competitors' brand sites. On their videos, excuse me. So they capture that from ones that are on your website. Okay, so let's get down here to these products. First thing I would say, these touts do really good when you say sale. However, when every single one has it, it kind of loses a little meaning. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend keeping that on all of them. But the other thing to be thinking about here is you're missing a call to action. Really need to tell the consumer what you want them to do. And so, understand you can click on each of these and potentially go in to see more information, but you really just need to tell the consumer, put a button that says view details, learn more, something like that. That goes a really long way to increasing engagement on these. Yeah, and if you go down a little bit, you talking a lot about gifts. I understand it's that time of season, and then you get into the different categories. I would almost recommend, instead of having the gifts up there, that you just do a smaller box from each of your categories. Help people dive in and take that next step in case they're really not looking for Christmas themed. Now, Christmas themed could be one of those boxes, but I would highly recommend sticking with things like animals, classic, fantasy, etc. But these are really cool. The detail on them is amazing. Oh, I like this.
Yeah, these are really cool. Quick question, John. So you mentioned, because he has sale on everything, which, like you said, depending on maybe if it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday,
Right.
people expect that. But you did mention earlier not just giving X dollars off or X% off, but maybe giving them free shipping or something that increases their cart value. Or maybe a special like giveaway. Do you have any examples of brands that you think do that well?
Yeah, I think that there are, in the health and beauty space, a lot of people like to do free gift with purchase. And we see that quite often. I think it's less prevalent in home decor. It's less prevalent in like wardrobe or clothing. I see it a lot in health and beauty. The reason likely being is margins are generally pretty high, and it's a pretty small product to ship. So to throw it in the box with your other product is usually pretty good. Also free gift with purchase. I mean, if you think about every time my wife goes to like a makeup counter at Nordstrom's or whatever, she comes away with like 100 samples, right? And so, it's all those little samples things. That's really, in that industry, that's expected. But I would really say industries overall are not taking enough advantage of that. A brand that does that really, really well is Ritual. So they have their vitamins, but then they came out with, I believe it was, Native. Native did it where they had deodorant, but they were also coming out with a second product line. And what Native decided to do was add on the second product line as a free gift with purchase. And so they got that into everybody's hands, right? So you got a free trial of that product just by clicking a box and saying, yeah, I want to try this product too. So that's a great way, again, to expand out your product line, trial stuff, do things of that sort. And consumers love it. So
Perfect. Who should we jump to next? One of them in your queue, or you want to jump into somebody in the chat?
Sure. I mean, we can reward people who are on here. Of course, but one of the things before we move on, I really want to say is these credit card icons. I don't know the last time you've purchased from a site and they didn't have or take the type of payment you wanted to pay with. So these aren't really valuable to have on here yet. Almost every Shopify theme has them baked in for some reason. I don't really know why, but I would highly recommend just removing them. We see that they end up being a distraction for people who are looking in your navigation in your footer. So. Okay, let's see here. I'll go back up to, let's see. What is macro rec? This could be a little dangerous to do these live. I don't know what people are putting in our chances. All right, looks like perhaps, okay, so you can see already some of the text is cut off. So I'm not really sure. It looks like camera setup. I'm not a huge digital video, but I know Red cameras. If you're buying a Red camera, you can probably spend quite a bit of money on a tripod because you don't want to drop that Red camera. All right, Unleash the Beast. So you're doing pre-orders right now. Again, up here you have products and store. That's really confusing to have both of those. I would stick to just listing the products out. And again, you have blog in your navigation, which can be a little confusing for folks. You're sending them back up the funnel. Yeah, I mean, I think this site here is really focusing on the features of these products, and I think if this audience is likely a very technical audience, so I can see that resonating pretty well. Okay. This is interesting. So there's a controller for this to help it move on its own. You can program that. Wow. I mean, that is not prevalent anywhere on what I saw up here. So you're missing a really good value proposition. Why do people want to buy your product over the competition? And I think that's missing here. But definitely look at this, your Shopify theme. I think you're on Shopify, and make sure that you are testing for all screen sizes.
And the controller thing's interesting too. Like, what are the main value props of the product?
Mm-hmm.
And is the controller a nice to have that very few people use? Is it something that draws most people? Because, like you said, it's buried at the bottom, but maybe the controller is like the biggest carrot, and to like show something like that in action, like the last I did with video, would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're looking up here. I mean, you've got some great photography, it looks like, but I'm still not getting the value prop of the product. So this may be a very niche product line that, people who are looking at this are really going to know what they're shopping for. So can understand that. All right, let's take a look at Annabella here. Entirely different animal. Water buffalo milk products. Okay, interesting. Okay, one of the first things that it's called out, in response to COVID, free shipping on all orders. Okay, we have done a ton of testing on that this year. Folks are kind of tired out of things of that sort. I would highly not say in response to COVID, we are available, or, we'll do free shipping. Folks now are really looking at this as you're playing up the COVID card, if you will, when it's not necessary. So I highly recommend changing that messaging, only because that won't convert as well as just saying, we offer free shipping for all orders. It kind of, is a little bit of false generosity there, is how it's perceived. Okay, so then again, you have why water buffalo. That's the number one question that people ask, right? But I would recommend you answer that here. Spoon up the goodness doesn't really tell me a whole lot. Instead, why water buffalo should be answered right here, right? And put that value prop there, especially because you have a product that is, not the standard, right? Oat milk does a pretty good job of this in their whole lobbying of how they operate. But the other thing is you have, shop online, then products. Well, here you have this great drop down. Why not just make this your shop? And again, understood, not every single product is going to be available on your website, but we can deal with that on a product detail page where you have, a store locator if it's not available, or you could do the store locator and buy online. So you start answering that here. Why water buffalo? Again, this is a wall of text for me, right? What are the key points you want people to know? You have some stuff bolded here, which is great, but I would highly recommend calling out what are the 4 or 5 points? You could say here, grass-fed and free range, right? From family farms in Colombia. That's really what people care about, are going to be what's that main point, and then they'll read through this. Okay, and here we are. We're finally getting to some products to understand what it is that you sell. You have the reviews, but you have these standard icons instead of actual consumers, and you have 2 of them that have the same date. So right away, if I'm a consumer and I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, they have these people, but then they didn't get an image from them. So I would just remove this if you don't have the image. The second thing is, 2 of them are on the same date. That's, okay, fine. I would just remove the date. It's not really necessary. And then the other thing I would have here is I would severely reduce the copy of these. I would just pull out what's the 1 or 2 points that these people are trying to make, because people aren't going to read the entire, especially this left one. I bet if we did an eye tracking here, people are not reading all of this.
Hey, quick thing, John, because you are talking about reducing text. There's a question from Jennifer, and I actually have some thoughts as well, but I'll go second, is how do you contend with SEO when cutting down on copy?
Right. Yeah, so what I'm suggesting cutting down is a bunch of the filler copy, the filler words, right? So if you stick to the main points, it will be fine for SEO, right? And the other thing is, if you're just looking to have copy length for copy length's sake, that anymore, Google calls that out and doesn't like it. If I don't know if anybody has paid attention to this recently, but Google did announce a few weeks ago that starting in 2021, I think they're saying like mid 2021, that usability is going to be the #1 ranking factor. And so they're looking at things like, how easy is it to read the copy? Is it whole, are we looking at Wikipedia copy, or, which would be great for doing research? Or if I am really just trying to find a new type of milk, for instance, or that I'm interested in, are they going to come to your site because that's going to be higher intent to purchase search queries, right? So really stick to what those main points are. Now, I'm not an SEO expert, but I can tell you that when we optimize websites and we cut down that copy, it generally helps the SEO. They get more organic traffic because we're helping to keep people on the site longer and do more pages within the site that Google wants to see. So if somebody comes to your site and it's a wall of text and they end up getting very confused and then just bounce, or maybe they don't want to invest that much effort and they bounce, Google sees that as a signal and will hurt your SEO. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. But I would definitely work on just getting to the main points in your copy.
And I'll chime in real fast and throw it back to you, John. So my assumption, like if you scroll to the top of the website, the goal of the homepage is to get people that are going directly to your website or that are searching for your brand. And so if somebody's searching for, Annabella is probably rather commonly searched because it's a name, but let's just say Annabella products or Annabella milk or Annabella yogurt. That's what the homepage is going to rank for. Yep. The why water buffalo or why water buffalo milk, that's most likely going to be a second, like a standalone page, just like they have in the nav. There's a question below, which is why water buffalo yogurt. And so those will likely be standalone pages. That's where you can have text. It operates more like a blog, even if it might not be on your blog. That's what should rank for those, not necessarily your homepage.
All right. Great. Yeah, I wholeheartily agree with that. I was looking down here, why it's better, and you're making people kind of click through this. I think these graphics are great. I would just break them out and have them across the site, as you're looking at this, because I think there's some good information here, and it's called out in a way that is easy on the eyes and quick to scan, right? All right, so there's a lot of pure by nature. You can see, the same recommendations for email. The other thing I would highly recommend is list your products in your footer. This is one thing I have not called out yet, but if somebody is on your site and they scroll all the way down to your footer, they are interested in what you have to say. And they're doing this for two reasons. So let's just talk about footers overall for a second here. On the left side of your footer should always be, in a vertical column, your main product categories. Okay, that's where people are going to go for that. Then all the way on the right-hand side should be your contact information. So you can see here they have the email and social. I highly recommend that you include a physical address if possible, right? Nobody's going to show up at your door, even if it's a PO box. Folks want to know that if they have an issue, that they have a place that they can contact you in some way in addition to email. A phone number is even better. So we just find that when you have an email, a phone number, and a physical address of any sort, no matter where it is in the world, the trust factor dramatically increases. So it's just a very good trust signal to have it on there. Now, what I would do also is separate that from your social. The reason being is that a lot of brands, if all you have is an email, etc., and it's an info, like a generic email address, folks who need customer support likely are going to go to your social to get that support instead. And while I'm not suggesting it's a bad thing to do social support, I do think you don't want to send people to social from your website. Again, it's like a blog. It's great for getting people to your brand and then hopefully to your site. It's really horrible once you send people from your site back up the top of the funnel into the black hole that is social. So highly recommend that you can feature that content throughout your site if you want, etc. But I would not be pushing people to go to social. All right, here. Should we do another one who submitted, Casey? try to work
Go
a
for
couple
it.
of those in since they were
So,
on
send
the
me
ball.
through this one out, the one that you've got up live right now.
Okay, wonderful. So let's see, Brathwaite. Hopefully I said that correctly. All right. So first thing first, again, the pop-up offering 10% off. And I just opened the site. You have free domestic shipping and returns. Okay, great. But then you also have early Black Friday sale and ends in. Okay, so I'm all about having urgency, and I think it's great to tell people when a sale ends. If you're going to do that. However, I wouldn't have all three messages up here in this promo bar. Stick to the one message. Again, shipping is what's going to matter. Putting a sale up here typically does not. I do like that right up front you have your social proof. However, I would actually put that a little further down, only because this, and when you put it in boxes like this in the table, it almost looks like you can click on these, right? And like they're categories of products, and it's making your navigation get lost because the prominence is really on this here as opposed to up here. So I bet if we did eye tracking on this, I can almost guarantee you the eyes would all be drawn to these logos, and you would get missed on your navigation. Now we're looking at the navigation. I love how you've broken it down, men's, women's, great. So you have your two categories, but then you have a really nice, we call these mega navigations. You've done a really nice job here of showing the categories and even having a nice photo with each of those. So that's really well done. And I enjoy that. I do wonder, these photos are a little different. I can't really see the watch as much. So they're more lifestyle versus these. I like the looking at the face of the watch more for helping me decide what is my generic style that I'm going to go into. Right down the line, you've got shop watches, which if you look at the link in the bottom left there, it says, and it's probably small for you folks, but it says men's bestsellers is where it's going to take me. So why not just say, shop our best-selling men's watches instead of shop watches? If I'm on your site, I'm going to be a little confused if I click that and end up at the men's site. And then it's all about, 5-star reviews, but typically you don't want to confuse that with showing a picture of the product. The reason being that consumers are going to think that they're going to be able to look at a product. Well, here you're sending them to the reviews page, it looks like. And then you have shop Instagram. Let's see. Okay, this is a really great implementation of the shopping. It's great because, as you see here, it says pretty clearly shop the look. So I love this. This is exactly what you should be doing if you're going to have Instagram featured on your site. Now the problem is, though, how do you get out of here? You can swap between all the way up here. Okay, well, we'll work on that UX a little bit. But I do love here that you have a transparent watchmaker and how, what you're saving by selling DTC. So that's wonderful. Great illustration. I've very rarely seen brands break that down, but I can promise you when we do user testing, folks always comment on it and they love it. So that's great to see. Okay, so back to the press again. So I think this is actually a really well done. I'm not sure I really love the auto rotating with the text. I would slow it down considerably as people are trying to read it and then look down at the logo and see who said what. But I like that much more than having it in the as seen all the way up top here. And I understand the value of having these logos associated with your brand. But again, especially when folks can't click on them, they assume you just advertised in those. So having the quotes here, I think will perform a lot better. And then once again, we're sending people into social. It's that exact same thing. Now the X is here, which is great. So that's much better. And then going with the back down to the footer again, I would move the contact information to your bottom right, as opposed to the left-hand side. Have shop left on the left, shop now, excuse me, on the left-hand side. And then I've already mentioned several times about newsletter signups and footers. It should be there. However, you really need to have expectation setting and privacy concerns addressed. Yeah, otherwise, beautiful watches too. for what are they saying? My expectation is now $150. I mean, some of these are great. I really
throw in your address in the chat, John. Maybe you'll get a. So for the next one, maybe we can look at. I know they threw it in a few times.
Okay.
Let's see, where is it? Papaya reusables.
This one right here.
And there we go. And then maybe if you want to shrink it so you view it as if you were on mobile, because here's a question from Martin. Thank you for your valuable insights. You're mainly looking at optimization of desktop versions. Isn't mobile much more important these days? And shouldn't every e-commerce store be optimizing mobile first?
Okay, great question. I appreciate you asking that. When we optimize for where the most revenue and sales are coming from. And that is still desktop in the vast majority of cases. Now, traffic is generally more mobile. What we find is consumers are doing more and more research on mobile, but they're completing their purchase on desktop. And the higher value your item, right, the higher price point, the more likely that consumer is going to buy on desktop. And there's a lot of convenience factors for that. And I know both Apple and Google have made that very easy on their devices with Apple Pay and Google Pay to buy right on a site via mobile without having to type in your credit card, do all that stuff. So that's great. We are seeing that a shift in that trend, right? Where more and more people are buying on mobile. And I agree, optimizing for mobile is extremely important. But if you're going to start anywhere to optimize, first thing you do is look at what platform or device size is getting the vast majority of your revenue and optimize there first. And generally, 80 to 90% of the times that's desktop for us.
So you mentioned payments, and you've said, a lot of traffic is coming from mobile, and it's probably because people are using different social apps like Instagram.
Yes.
We're seeing more and more, one-click pay options, PayPal, Shop Pay, Amazon, quite a few others. What are your thoughts there? And have you found which are most predominantly used? And have you found a sweet spot? Because I've been on some sites where I go to check out on mobile and there's 6 options.
Yeah. In fact, I just posted on LinkedIn the other day a checkout that my team found that had 7 or 8 different checkout options between 2 types of PayPal, a option to pay over time, a finance option, I think it was bread, something like that. And then it also had Bolt checkout, which is a third-party checkout that's actually great once you get into the Bolt checkout. And they also had all of these other options, right? Like the Shop by Apple Pay and all these other things. So I agree with that. I think, really the Shop Pay has been great if you're on Shopify. They do a great job with that. I think, avoid using Amazon Pay only because you want your consumer information. So anytime that if you're selling DTC, I'm okay even spending tons of money to break even on traffic just to have that customer information over time, because I know I can continue to sell to that same customer base. But if you spend money on your ads to get people into your site and then give that data up on that purchase to Amazon or whoever, then you're losing out on that information that is first party data that can be really, really valuable for increasing lifetime value and secondary purchases. So I highly recommend looking at Apple Pay. Does a great job because you still get all that information. Same thing with Google Pay. I think if you have those 2 and you have a normal checkout, you're perfectly fine. PayPal, some people still love to use PayPal, but quite honestly, it's falling out of favor pretty rapidly with all these other providers. So highly recommend, making it easy for people on mobile, right? The whole point of this is to make it easy. And so all of these third-party payment providers, if they're not doing that, then you have a bigger issue. You can also, do things that are really smart, like only show Apple Pay if it's an Apple device. And that would really help reduce complexity. Don't show Google Pay to me if I'm on Safari, for instance, right? Because I'm not going to be on a Pixel device and they don't have Safari for that, right? So be thinking about that a little bit in terms of what the options are. And a little bit of optimization there can go a long way. Or honestly, just throw your hands up and do something like Bolt, which does an amazing job, or Fast. Check out fast.com. Great checkout experience again, where they have these unified checkouts. ShopPay does a great job with that as well. So all of those are what I would recommend. Probably more on payment than you were hoping for, but okay. So let's take a look at Papaya here.
Extremely important. I mean, if you can't transact, you can't get the deal done.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, like you called out earlier, it's less of a blocker today. But sometimes it's almost like these self-imposed blockers. Like I threw in your LinkedIn message.
Yeah.
The options. Like, why are there multiple PayPal options? I actually didn't know that even if it's on your website and it's processed through Amazon Pay, which is a great option because pretty much everybody has an Amazon account. I didn't know that you don't get the buyer data.
Yeah,
which is pretty fascinating.
You get some of the fulfillment data, but you don't get all of the same data that you would had if you use one of these other options. And also keep in mind that Amazon now has that data, and so they now know. I'm not exactly a conspiracy theorist with Amazon, but we all know that they're tracking everything, and we also know they are competition for you selling directly, even if you're selling on their platform. Right. And so in my point of view, the less data I'm giving to Amazon when I'm not selling directly on their platform, the better off I can sell direct. And I want to own all of that data because it's super valuable. Okay. So taking a look here, it's not rendering 100% perfect when I made it with this view, but I do like maybe we can just expand just a little bit here. Yeah, there's usually a way I can turn this into mobile view, but I'm not going to get into developer tools and all that stuff right now, waste everybody's time, but there is a way I could turn this into mobile view. So I will just say straight off the bat here that, I do like on mobile, a lot of people on mobile like to have a Hamburger navigation. And we have been advising a lot of our customers to stay away from the Hamburger navigation on mobile. The reason being is that it does two things. One is that often on Hamburger navigation, it really encourages you because you click on it and it covers the entire page. It encourages brands to stuff that navigation with everything, right? And because they're like, well, I'm already taking over the page, I might as well just throw everything in there for simplicity. The second thing is it makes people take a click to do that wayfinding. I mentioned earlier that a lot of visitors to your site will look at your site right off the bat and will say, what exactly do they sell? They try to orient themselves around your navigation. And if your navigation doesn't clearly tell them what you're selling, like in this case, it says shop and artist. And holiday gifts. I still don't really know what exactly Papaya sells. Hello to beautiful reusables. Well, okay, reusables, but it doesn't really tell me a whole lot about what types of products I'm going to be looking at. I actually love this line, reusable products designed by artists. I would say include that up top here because that's really quick, tells me exactly what I'm going to be looking at. So I think that's a little bit better. And then scrolling down, what I am not a fan of is CTAs that change color. And what I mean by that is you can see here it goes from a CTA that's quite hidden actually, right? It gets lost in the image. And then if I roll over, it becomes active. That rollover effect is not going to be visible on mobile, right? Because they're going to be tapping. So, if you're looking at this from a pure mobile, you are not able to see that CTA very well. So I would highly recommend just having, I understand you're trying to protect the image that's below it. Well, move the CTA down here to, right in the bottom spot of the image. And I think you'll see you won't have to cover the image as much and you can protect the integrity of those, which are beautiful photography. I like to meet the artist. You're making it very personal. That's wonderful. People want to know who they're buying from. So that's always great. Editor's picks is great. One thing I would highly recommend is changing these to a low intent to purchase call to action. Well, think about this. Why? Face the day. Okay. First of all, I don't really know what this is, right? And I'm looking at this. Is it a shirt? I don't really know, right? And so I'm not going to be ready to add it to my bag just yet. And you already have add to bag here. So if I want to learn more about the product and not add it to my bag, what's going to happen is I'm going to not click on this. And instead, I'm going to go to your site and search for this, or I'm going to get frustrated and leave. So make it easy and just say, learn more, view details, things of that sort here. It's okay to have the price, but I would not, on your homepage, when you're that high up the funnel still, I would not recommend having a add to cart, add to bag type of situation. I do like that you have your shop navigation first, and then you don't have any contact information here. So I think that's the big issue. You do see contact and FAQs, but you have to search for that. Also, FAQ pages. I often say FAQ pages are where good content goes to die. If they truly are frequently asked questions, bake that content in to the rest of your site where people have those questions, right? So if a commonly asked question is, do you take my type of payment or whatever, which very few people ask, but just as an example to play off of what we were talking about earlier, then put that on a product detail page, right? And tell people we accept, 20 different types of payments or whatever. And then they won't necessarily have that question at that point anymore. Yeah, I do like this get on the list, although stay in touch is very generic and not very helpful. I don't know what I'm going to get. And the reality is you're going to stay in touch with them. They're not going to stay in touch with you. So I've never been a fan of when brands say that. Unsubscribe anytime is a great reassurance tool, though. So I do like that. Yeah, any other questions on this, Casey? I know you were trying to get mobile view in, and it's.
Oh, this is great, and somehow we're already at the top of the hour.
I know.
And I know that you do this all the time, and I'm sure the people in the audience could sit here and listen to it forever. I know there's a bunch of sites that we were not able to get to, and a lot of people that applied in advance. But John, I just really want to thank you for your time.
Of course.
This is extremely helpful. I know my team's been chatting me throughout the whole thing, saying, "Hey, there's some other stuff we should look at for our own sites." And anyways, this is great. As it says in the email, it's that we sent out, and John just threw out there. John, he runs thegood.com. John, anything you want to throw out there or plug?
Yeah, look, feel free to check out our website and sign up for our insights. You can do so at thegood.com/up. I'll include that in here as well, and that will get you into our insight sign up, where we send out a weekly helpful content. It's never sales pitches. It's all just a weekly conversion tip that you can apply yourself and dive pretty deep. Otherwise, I did include my email address up there as well. Feel free to email me. I try to respond to every email. I do get tons of email every day, but I do my best to get back to folks. So if you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to let me know.
Well, John, again, this is great. I really appreciate your time. I took more notes during this than I have in most meetings in quite a while. Just so much good stuff and just actionable insights, especially with Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming. Some of the data that we've seen on the ShipBob side, brands are seeing between 33 to 40% of their sales within like that 6-week stretch to end the year, which is insane. So if there's any time that you need to just really nail down conversion rate optimization, it's now. And so, and then always to the audience, there's so much more you could be doing with your time. So really appreciate you taking it to join us here today. We've got some more stuff coming based off of the signups we've had and how active the chat was. It looks like we might have to see if we can get John back on maybe after Black Friday or the beginning of the year.
Happy to. Yeah. And a lot of people are asking if you're going to post a recording of this. I think you said earlier you would.
Yeah, we're gonna publish this, throw it on the ShipBob blog. And for those of you who didn't get your thing checked out, feel free to maybe hit up John. He did throw his email out there, or work with him through the good. They do amazing work, as you can see from here today. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.